I swear I didn't walk into that school gym expecting my life to tilt like that. PTA meetings were usually just another kind of noise, moms arguing over bake sales, dads pretending to care about bus routes. I only went because my sister begged me to sit in for her. Her kid, my nephew, was in second grade, and she had a night shift. That's how I ended up standing there, out of place, too young, leaning against a wall lined with hand-drawn posters of suns and stick figures. That's when I saw her. She wasn't even looking my way at first. Mid-40s, maybe, though you'd never know it by the way she held herself, shoulders back, chin slightly lifted like she'd learned not to apologize for taking up space. Dark hair tucked into a messy knot, a navy blouse that looked too formal for the folding chairs and paper cups of instant coffee scattered around. She was listening intently to some parent complain about cafeteria menus, but her eyes, sharp, restless, made it clear she was somewhere else entirely. I caught myself staring longer than I should. And when she finally glanced over, even for a second, it was like she saw through me. Like she knew I didn't belong there. "First time?" she asked when the crowd shifted and we ended up side by side near the refreshment table. I nodded, awkward, fumbling with a plastic cup. "Yeah. Filling in for my sister." Her mouth twitched, half amusement, half curiosity. "Thought so. You don't have the weary look yet." I wanted to ask what she meant, but she turned back toward the front, arms folded, like she was holding in more words than she'd let slip. That should have been it. A polite exchange. But then the meeting dragged on, someone arguing over fundraising raffles, someone else suggesting a field trip. And I kept catching her looking my way, even when she pretended not to. Noticing the way I sat up straighter, the way I didn't check my phone. Every time our eyes met, she looked away first. But never fast enough. By the time the chairs scraped back and parents started gathering their bags, I already felt that restless pull, the one you can't name out loud. I told myself not to linger, not to turn this into anything. But she was walking the same direction as me toward the doors, close enough that her perfume, something subtle, not sweet, but warm, cut through the cold hallway air. At the exit, I slowed, holding the door for her. She stopped, just for a second too long, her hand brushing mine as she passed. Not accidental. Not entirely. "Thanks," she said, low, almost reluctant. And then, softer, like she wasn't even sure I was meant to hear. "You're not what I expected." I should have asked what she meant. But my throat locked up. Instead, I followed her outside, where the night air was sharp, the parking lot buzzing with headlights. She paused beside a silver sedan, digging for her keys, and glanced over her shoulder. It wasn't a smile. It wasn't an invitation. But it was something. Enough that my pulse stumbled. Enough that I knew this wasn't ending in the parking lot. And then, before I could stop myself, I said the one thing I hadn't meant to. "Maybe next time you can tell me what you did expect." She froze, keys in hand, back half-turned. Then she looked at me, really looked, like she'd been waiting for someone to say exactly that. The car beeped unlocked, but she didn't move. That's where it started. I don't know what possessed me to say it. The words had slipped out before I could think, and now they sat between us like an open secret. She still hadn't moved, hand resting on the roof of her car, keys dangling uselessly from her fingers. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd laugh it off. Maybe roll her eyes, remind me how ridiculous it was for someone my age to even stand there. But instead she just sighed, the kind of sigh that carried more weight than words, and leaned her hip against the car. "My divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago," she said suddenly. The parking lot felt too quiet. Somewhere across the asphalt a car alarm chirped, headlights flicked on. But here, with her, it was like the night folded in around us. I swallowed. "I didn't ask, I know," she cut in. Her voice wasn't sharp, though. More like she'd been carrying the sentence around and needed someone, anyone, to hear it. I keep saying it out loud, trying to believe it's real." The keys slipped deeper into her palm. She didn't look at me, not directly. Instead her gaze stayed fixed on the ground, on some crack in the pavement. And in that second, she didn't look untouchable or distant the way she had in the gym. She just looked tired. Human. Something pulled at me then. The urge to fill the silence, to step closer, to say the right thing. But all I could manage was, "That sounds heavy." She gave the faintest laugh, a sound halfway between bitter and grateful. "That's one way to put it." I should have left it there. Let her unlock her car and drive away. But my feet didn't move. My eyes kept finding things I shouldn't notice. The way her knuckles whitened around the keys, the wrinkle in her blouse where she'd been sitting too long, the line of her jaw tightening every time she forced a smile. It felt dangerous. Not because she was older, not because people would talk if they saw us, but because she carried an ache I recognized. One I hadn't earned the right to touch. And still, I couldn't stop staring. She finally turned, catching me in the act. For the first time tonight, she didn't look away. "You don't say much, do you?" Heat rushed to my face. I guess not." "Good." She exhaled slowly, pushing off the car. "Too many people talk without listening." There was a pause. A shift. The kind that makes you realize the ground beneath you is no longer steady. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see the faint trace of tiredness under her eyes, the way her lipstick had smudged just slightly. Her hand hovered for a moment, then landed lightly on my arm. "Stay a minute," she said. Not a question. My chest tightened. I almost told her I couldn't. I almost told her I shouldn't. But the word never came. Her hand lingered on my arm longer than it should have. Light but steady. I tried to keep still, but my pulse betrayed me, jumping beneath her touch. She noticed. I could tell by the faint curve at the corner of her mouth. Not a smile exactly. More like she'd confirmed something she already suspected. I opened my mouth, ready to say something to break it, to set the world back on its rails. But before I could, she spoke. "You remind me." She hesitated, lips pressing together, eyes darting away for the first time. "You remind me of someone I knew a long time ago." I almost asked who, but she caught herself and shook her head. "Doesn't matter." The silence stretched. Somewhere behind us, the school doors clanged shut as the janitor locked up. A reminder that we weren't entirely alone. Still, it felt like the parking lot was just ours, this quiet pocket where the rules bent, where her voice sounded softer, closer. I should have pulled back. I knew it. My sister was probably expecting me home by now. This woman, she wasn't mine to want. She was raw from her divorce, vulnerable, standing on some invisible ledge. And me? I was supposed to be the safe distance, not the one she leaned toward. But when her fingers slipped from my arm, brushing down just enough to graze my wrist before pulling away, I followed that warmth like gravity. "Can I?" The words left me before I could stop them. I didn't even know what I was asking. Her breath caught sharp. She tilted her head, searching my face, and for a terrifying second I thought she might let me close that space between us. Then her phone rang. The sound was so jarring we both flinched. She dug in her bag, fumbling, almost annoyed, before finally fishing it out. "Hello?" Her voice was different, brisk, guarded. She turned slightly away, like she didn't want me to hear. But I caught pieces. Something about her son, homework not finished, a reminder she'd be home soon. Normal things. Ordinary things. And yet it pressed down between us like a weight. The reminder that her life was bigger than this moment. That I was an outsider. When she hung up, the air felt different. Colder. "I should go," I muttered, stepping back, giving her space to unlock the car. My chest ached in a way I couldn't name. She looked at me then, not the brisk, careful version of her voice, but her eyes. And whatever I thought she'd say, "Goodbye, thank you, see you next meeting," she didn't. Instead, she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, hesitated, and asked quietly, "Do you want to walk me home?" The keys dangled between her fingers, the door still closed, her body angled not toward escape but toward me. Every rational thought screamed at me to step back. But her question, her voice, hung there, daring me closer. We didn't walk all the way. Her place was only a few blocks from the school, but it felt longer, every step filled with a silence that wasn't quite comfortable but wasn't unbearable either. A silence thick with things neither of us dared say. She led, I followed, and once or twice our shoulders brushed. Each time, it was enough to jolt my breath, like touching a live wire. When we reached her front door, she hesitated. Keys in hand, she turned to me with that same look she'd given in the parking lot, measured, torn, a little dangerous. "You don't have to come in," she said softly. But she didn't unlock the door either. "I know." My voice cracked more than I wanted it to. We stood there on her porch, the dim glow from a nearby street lamp spilling over her face. It wasn't the moment to joke, or to play casual. Something about the air, the way she held herself like she might shatter if I said the wrong thing, demanded honesty. So I asked, before I could swallow it back, "Do you regret it?" Her brows knit. "Regret what?" "Letting me walk with you." Her laugh was quiet, but it wasn't amusement, it was disbelief, maybe even relief. She pressed her hand against the doorframe, shoulders sagging just a little. "I regret plenty. But not that. It should have calmed me. Instead, it made my chest ache harder. You're too young," she added quickly, almost like she needed to rebuild the wall. "Too young to understand what comes after nights like this. And you're too guarded." I shot back before I could stop myself. My pulse hammered. "But here we are." That broke something. She turned to me fully then, her eyes wet, not tears exactly, but glassy, bright, on the edge of breaking. "You don't know what I've lost." "Then tell me." My voice dropped, unsteady but determined. "Tell me so I can understand." Her breath hitched. For a moment I thought she would. Her lips parted, her body leaning just slightly toward mine, close enough that I could feel the faint warmth radiating off her skin. And then she froze. The sound of laughter echoed faintly down the street, two neighbors walking a dog, voices drifting past. The spell fractured, reality crashing in. She straightened, brushing quickly at her hair as if smoothing herself back into place. "I should have let it end there," said goodnight, turned away. But when her hand touched the doorknob, I stepped forward, words slipping out in a whisper. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment I saw you." The air between us locked tight. Her hand stilled on the knob. Slowly, she turned her head, meeting my eyes. For once, she didn't look guarded. She didn't look like someone's mother, or someone's ex, or someone trying to keep a safe distance. She just looked at me, raw and unmasked. And then, nothing. No words. No movement. Just a silence so heavy it felt like a decision. The silence stretched, thick and unbearable, until I almost leaned forward just to shatter it. Then, out of nowhere, she whispered, "You shouldn't remind me of him." The words landed sharp, too sudden. I blinked, caught between confusion and the sting of being compared. "Of who?" Her jaw tightened. For a second I thought she wouldn't answer, but then she exhaled, eyes slipping shut as if bracing herself. "My first love. I was not much older than you. He was wild, restless, convinced he could fix me. And I let him try. For a while." Her voice thinned at the edges, almost breaking. "He left. Just left. And for years I told myself it was because I was too much. Too complicated. Too everything." She opened her eyes again, and when they met mine, it wasn't the guarded woman I'd seen all night. It was someone stripped bare. Someone admitting the wound still throbbed after all these years. The world tilted under me. I wanted to say I wasn't him, that I wouldn't run. But the words clung stubbornly in my throat, half because I wasn't sure they'd sound true and half because she didn't seem ready to hear them. "I'm not," I started, but she cut me off with a sharp shake of her head. "Don't," she said. "Don't promise me things you don't even know you want yet." The porch light flickered above us, buzzing faintly. Somewhere inside the house, a clock chimed the half-hour. The ordinary sounds only made the moment feel more fragile, like it could collapse under the weight of truth. I didn't mean to stir all this up. I muttered, though even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. I had stirred it. I'd wanted to. Her lips pressed together. She turned toward the door again, but instead of unlocking it, she rested her forehead against the wood, shoulders sagging. I shouldn't have asked you to walk me home. And that was the twist of the knife, because I wanted to believe she meant it, but her voice carried something else. Not regret, but fear. Like she'd already crossed further than she intended. I stepped closer, close enough to see the fine tremor in her hands as they hovered by her side. Then why did you? Her breath hitched, and for the first time, she didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned, slowly, almost painfully, to face me. Her eyes glistened, wide and uncertain. Because, she said finally, voice so low it was almost a plea. You make me feel like I'm still capable of being wanted. The words stole my breath. For a second, everything inside me screamed to close the distance, to prove it without hesitation. But the sound of footsteps scuffing against the pavement snapped me back. I turned. A man was walking his dog across the street, glancing casually toward us. Just a neighbor, just a passerby, yet the tension surged back, thick and dangerous. When I looked at her again, she was staring at me, waiting. Like whatever I did next would decide if this ended right here, or if it really began. For a long second, either of us moved. The man across the street tugged his dog along, never noticing us, but his presence pressed like a reminder. Eyes could be anywhere, this wasn't safe. Still, I couldn't step back. Not after what she just said. You think that's all it is? I asked, voice rougher than I meant. That I'm just proving you can still be wanted? Her lips parted, but no sound came. I saw her throat work, the way she tried to steady herself. I took one step closer, my voice low. It's not that. I want you. Not the idea of you, not just because you're hurting. You. The words hung there, naked, dangerous. She stared at me like she was trying to memorize the shape of my face, the way the street lamp carved shadows over my cheekbones. Then, with a shaky exhale, she pressed her back against the door, her hands flattening against it as if to keep herself steady. You don't know what you're saying, she whispered. You don't know how heavy I am. How much I can take someone down with me. Then let me carry some of it. The answer came out too fast, too desperate, but I meant it. I'd never meant anything more. She closed her eyes, head tipping back against the wood. For a moment I thought I'd lost her. That she'd shut down, disappear behind walls I'd never break through. But when her eyes opened again, there was no guard left. Only exhaustion. And something that looked a lot like surrender. You're impossible, she murmured. Maybe. I swallowed hard. But I'm not leaving. Her hand lifted then, almost cautiously, like she was testing whether the air between us would let her through. Fingers brushed my jaw, warm and trembling, before settling there. The touch rooted me, silenced every second thought. I leaned in, not rushing, just closing the distance inch by inch. And this time she didn't stop me. Our lips met softly at first, hesitant, like we were both terrified it would break us. Then, with a breath that sounded almost like relief, she pressed closer, her hands sliding to the back of my neck, pulling me in. It wasn't polished. It wasn't movie perfect. It was messy, uneven, weighted with everything unsaid. But it was real. When we finally pulled apart, she stayed close, her forehead resting against mine. Neither of us spoke for a long while. The night hummed around us, distant cars, the buzz of the porch light, but all I could hear was her breath mixing with mine. Then she whispered, so quiet it nearly got lost in the air. Don't make me regret this. I didn't have an answer, not a promise strong enough. All I could do was hold her gaze, my chest aching with the weight of everything between us. And she let me. That silence, that fragile, dangerous silence, was our answer. I never thought one PTA meeting would lead me here, standing on her porch, lips tingling from a kiss that shouldn't have happened, heart pounding like I'd run miles. But it did. And nothing about the night felt casual anymore. We didn't rush inside. We didn't need to. The porch, the quiet street, the trembling air between us, it was enough to hold what words couldn't. She finally pulled back, arms folding across her chest like she was bracing herself. "This doesn't fix me," she said, her voice raw. "I don't want to fix you." My throat tightened. "I just don't want to walk away wondering." Her laugh came out half broken, half astonished, as though she couldn't believe I'd said that out loud. "You're too young to know what wondering does to a person. Then teach me." She stared at me, really stared, like she was testing whether I understood even a fraction of what I was asking for. And maybe I didn't. Maybe she was right. But I knew one thing: walking away would hurt more than the risk of staying. The lock finally clicked as she opened her door. For a heartbeat, I thought she might close it behind her. Instead, she left it open, pausing in the doorway. Her eyes softened, not unguarded, but less afraid. "You can come in, if you're ready for complicated." And I was. God, I was. Inside, the house was quiet. Photos along the wall, a pair of shoes kicked off near the stairs, a coffee cup abandoned on the counter. Signs of a life she hadn't expected me to see. And yet here I was. We didn't talk much after that. Words felt too clumsy, too heavy. It was enough to sit on her couch, side by side, the distance gone, letting the weight of everything slowly settle into something less terrifying. I don't know what tomorrow will look like. Maybe we'll regret it, maybe we won't. Maybe this becomes something lasting, or maybe it's only a night we'll both carry in silence years from now. But tonight taught me something, that sometimes the people who seem the most unreachable are the ones waiting, silently, for someone to notice they're still there. Still worth wanting. And if I've learned anything, it's this: the moments that feel dangerous, the ones that make your heart stumble, are the ones that change you forever. Because she changed me. And maybe, just maybe, I changed her too. Sparkles, did you enjoy the story? Thought Balloon, what kind of stories would you like to hear next?